Hey guys, it's Rusty Nelson, your college art professor, and it's drawing day. And today we are working with a subject that I like to work with my students up at the university in one of my drawing classes, and that's drawing skulls. We have a good collection of horse skulls, cow skulls, ram skulls, squirrel skulls, any kind of a skull that we can throw out onto a tabletop or out in front of everybody out in the on the podium so that they can draw. We light it nicely. So I have found some nice skull reference out on Pinterest, and we're going to be drawing that today. I'm going to be working with newsprint and charcoal, and this should be a fun exercise, and it's something we like to do, spend maybe 30 minutes 40 minutes working on one of these pieces, and then we move on and do another one. So let's get started on this and see how it turns out. So here we are. This is the reference going to be working with. Nice crunchy looking old skull with some nice highlights, some really dark key tonal range on it. And we're really going to be using those basic ideas of finding shapes, big general shapes, and we'll start tightening it up. So let's get started on that. So we're right in this zone, and right up here, and right over here, we're going to get that skull. There we go. Get that sucker. It's a good shape. You can really have a lot of fun with this. And right now, it doesn't really matter. You can make a lot of mistakes and do a lot of different things. We're just looking for the big shapes here. We got a flat eye socket. It's going to be kind of crunchy looking. There it is. Comes around, comes up around behind. Here, let's pull that around. There we go. We got the front of the skull, looking for relationships, relative positioning of objects. Comes right down in through here, up and around, comes around off of the back. We got teeth. The kids love drawing these things. All right, and it comes around off of that. We get that little piece right down here like that. Comes off of here, and we got that shape. Comes around up, crunchy right there like that, comes around. There we go. And we get that big shape. It's really angular if you look real closely at it, especially this one. Looks like it's been decomposing for a while. And if you notice, we have not the right width to any of this yet. So we need to start making adjustments overall to the whole piece. So we'll just pull it down. This is just so that you can definitely start fixing any mistakes you make. At this point with charcoal, you can do all sorts of things that are pretty forgivable at this point. So let's pull that eye socket out a little further out this way. All right, so pull that over. There we go. So just really going to start coming in and blocking in some of the tonal ranges as well. Let me get that horn. That horn's going to be about right here, this back side of it. There it is. Okay. And it comes on around like that. I get a little deeper, bigger. There we go. And I'm coming into this cold, so I haven't warmed up any at all. So even this whole thing I'm doing right now is pretty much my warm-up. All right, so we have fixed the proportion issues a little bit. So let me come around. I'm going to pull that down, pull it in a little further. All right, so now I'm just going to start smudging and getting some of the tonal ranges in here. I'm going to switch over to another charcoal. Something's a little softer, and that is soft. There we go. So we'll start getting a little crunchier feel to stuff right in through here. There we go. Yeah. I'm working with my finger. I've seen people, they work with stumps. I've got a stump here if I want to work with it, that I can feel the little dab of it. Also, this is an opportunity for you to start really working with your directional mark making. There we go. All right, we're going to get this. It's a pretty high up. There we go. All right, we're just going to keep working it up. Looking for big shapes. Find the highlights. If you want something to look light, put something dark next to it. Again, here's my stump. I do have a stump handy. If you want to work with a stump, you can definitely come in with that. Or we have a paper towel. You can even create your own little stump. Wrap it around your finger. You can smudge like that as well. Just going to take it down. Just take everything down a notch. And once you get enough charcoal onto the stump even, you can really start using it as the application device as well. So it's all about the types of marks you're making. Knocking it back. I'm going to grab my big stump again, or my compressed charcoal. Add a little more charcoal into it. We have the shadow over here. We got some crunchy looking teeth. We'll just block those in real quick. I'm not terribly worried about it being accurate to the photo. Again, I'm just using it as my jumping off point. We'll get the tooth right there. Pull it down just a little further. There we go. There we go. Right like that. All right, so we're getting there. We also have, looks like some rock or something it's sitting on, so we got a little bit of a difference there we can work with. We have a nice dark shape happening right here. All right, cool. Okay. All right, so I'm just going to start building a little more of the structure in and around on the front face. And then through here, just finding some of those value ranges. Over here on that. We can find the details later. We can find the contrast and the structures later on as well. Again, it gets real crunchy down here. And once you get some of these tonal ranges kind of figured out, we can do a lot of other things once we start working in the structure, the detail, things like that. All right, so we do have some nice proportions. I can think of some things we can still fix in here as we get going, but right now I'm going to start coming in. I'm going to find some of the structural detail. I want to start working a little more detail into the piece, so it starts to have some all sorts of good in and outs and structure, this waving form as it comes around. All right. And again, these are fairly quick drawings. I don't let the students spend a lot of time. I like to have them get a little bit more of a quick hand at it. So maybe a 30-minute, 40-minute, hour-long sketch on this is about the direction we take. Okay. And we also start seeing the values, the structure on that. The horn is the interesting thing, and we just are working with these contour lines coming around. Now I can see the back side of the skull a little better, and we can come in and really start building out the structure. Okay, and right here, there we go. There we go. Sorry, again, once I start working and concentrating, I lose the power of speech. So that may not be a bad thing. All right, so again, I'm just finding structure and the overall shapes of the specific bones. Okay, there we go. Okay, and it comes right up underneath, right up under the eye. Eye socket comes into the interior of the shape right there. And then we got the little teeth. Let's throw a little teeth action going on in here. Okay. Get all of those teeth going. One more. He's kind of a long snaggle tooth there. And we got the Lone Ranger out here. There we go. All right, so this is already starting to feel like it's coming together. If I can get the right shapes over here. I'm going to get some broken edges in there. Comes around. It also comes down. Oh, let me get this right here. Let me get this edge. Comes down right along and through here. Comes back up. And this comes around like that. And we have some shadows coming around right along in here. Right back under here. And it's really dark right back in here. So just making value marks, directional value marks. I'm going to smudge a little bit with my finger. This is a General's Carbon Sketch soft charcoal pencil. So it's got a little more structure to it than that compressed charcoal, which is kind of a big muddy mess. But I wanted it. It knocked down all of the tonal range on the paper, and it feels a lot better. All right, so let's get that shape. Come up here, up and around, over and down. There we go. And then we can get the, comes around, comes up pretty high, comes around, has a little crunchy action going on right there. And then on the back side, there's a plane right there, and it kind of splits into a Y shape right there. So you kind of got directional marks that go this direction there, and they flatten out up here. And the others are kind of right in here and doing that thing along the edge of the horn like that, okay? All right, so there we go, like that. So this is starting to feel about right. I'm going to switch around and get some other charcoal, softer charcoal here in a second, as soon as I get everything kind of structured up. And it's dark right along in through here. There we go. And it gets dark right down here. We got another break in it right there. Bone break. All right. There we go. And let me get this over here. And I'm working quick. I'm not too terribly worried. With skulls like this, you can, again, it's all about the choices you make on subject matter. These are pretty forgiving, so you can do all sorts of fun stuff with this. And it gets real crunchy in here. All right, we'll just keep it real crunchy right down along in here, even along this edge, right in through here. There we go. And we'll even bring it around like that. There we go. Yeah, so it gets really interesting as we come around in here, and the highlight edge stays on this side of it. And then it gets really kind of fun in here because it gets irregular right back on this back side. We're going to keep this highlight right in through here, but all this can go fairly dark. And right up in here, I'm going to go ahead and we'll just get a little more value kind of happening in here. And you can definitely tell everything's starting to work nicely. Get that nice big shape right there. And it is really starting to sing. I'm really focused on the skull itself. I'm not terribly worried about the background, but I do want to give enough value to ground it in space. So it gets a little darker right back up in here. And it starts to transition. We get some really crunchy stuff. There we go. Okay. Yeah, now we're starting to cook. All right, I'm going to switch over. I'm going to grab my stump again. Push a little more of the value around. It flattens it out, evens it out a little bit, gives me some transitions. And you can definitely see we can start pushing it and working in the textures, the directions. There we go. Yeah, this is looking good. I'm feeling it. I'm starting to warm up. I'm getting into it. And again, as with watercolor or any kind of a drawing or process that you might be working with, you want to bounce around. Don't work in one spot too long. Keep bouncing it around. I'm working with that compressed charcoal again. Get a little more value density to the blacks, the value range. It's a very soft medium. So, and then in here it gets real crunchy and doesn't have any kind of a, see in here it still almost has the shape of the horn that you're working with. There we go. I'm going to get a little darker right back up in here and get a little crunchier on the edge of that eye. It's not a sharp edge. There we go. There we go. That's a sharp edge right there. And then it comes right down along in here. Keep it angular. All right. Work on the teeth right down here. Got some really fun shapes. Got a nice crinkle right in through here. Come up and get this right going again a little better right there. And again, this has that irregular crunch to it as well. Gets darker right up in here. It's really dark back here. Comes around enough to where there's a nice highlight edge, and I want to put something darker on that back side of it in the negative space so that that highlight edge will read. There we go. All right, I'm going to get my paper towel again, and we'll just do it again. We'll just keep working it, bringing up that value range. There we go. It's really about irregular marks, creating patterns, lights and darks that start creating that convincibility in the overall work as you're developing and drawing this. So I want to, it's a lot like what I do with watercolor. I'll add the definition in and I come in and soften it up again. Destroy edges, losing the edges if necessary. And we haven't even done the fun part yet, which is coming in and really starting to pick out some of the highlights with the kneaded eraser. Everything's kind of going to the grays, and that's good. That's going to give us a lot to work with when we do start picking and finding highlights. Again, I'm just starting to draw a little bit now with the pigment that's on the paper towel. And trying to resist the urge to get hyper realistic. I want it to be representational, but I don't care if it's realistic. I'm trying to get a little more character into it than just that. Lose that edge back there. Pull my piece back over. I should have taped my paper down. You know, in each one of my videos, there's always one or two things I have forgotten to do. I'm so excited to get started drawing these things and painting these things that I just jump in with both feet. And there we go. I'm going to throw a little more tonal range out here. Just knocking it down. And if you can kind of tell where I'm going with this, when I get started with the kneaded eraser, those highlights will really start popping. All right, that's starting to look pretty good. I'm going to hit it one more time if I can find my pencil. All right. I don't like that one. Let's use this one to see if this one does it. Does this one do my trick? Yeah, that one does. All right. All right. So I'm going to give in a little bit. I'm just going to there's a nice big hole right down here. Good. All right, we'll throw that crinkle right there. There we go. Got another one right down here. I'm working a little texture. I'm defining some edges. It comes right down, along right down through here. We got some nice crunchy edges right along the top of that as well. Okay. And I'm going to throw a little more. These are more of a directional mark. Textural and directional. Right along there. Let's get a little more of that crunch right up in this. And again, I'll probably come back in and pick some more on this, which means, look at that. So now I did have a good comment from somebody. How do you keep from transferring stuff instead of smearing it all over? Right now the smearing doesn't matter, but you just get a piece of paper and just set it right there, and then you can prop your hand down like that, and everything is good. Like that, and you won't transfer any charcoal anymore. Or as you get better at it, you'll just learn to keep your hand up a little higher as well. And you won't transfer as much. Cool. Just gonna keep adding in the detail where I want it and ignore it where I don't. I'm just creating some textures now. Now I should, in the next few days, I'm going to resolve the shakiness. I'm going to isolate my camera, my look down camera from the table, so it's not constantly wiggling around and making everybody seasick when I zoom in. And I knew that was a problem. I just was trying to ignore it at the time. All right, so I'm just putting some of the shadows in on some of the shadow ridges on that, on the horn. I'm going to go ahead and get some more of the textures on this side too. There we go. So it is starting to look pretty good. I'm going to throw some of those textures on the inside of that as well. And as you can see, the longer you start working on it, you can really start layering in the complexities of the textures on the surface of the skull, the intricate lights and darks, and it's all of those little nuances that really start making it read three-dimensional. There we go. In like that. And it's all these little textures, patterns, mark making, how you make a mark. All those things are making it read in an interesting manner. There we go. And then it gets to a point where you know, depends on what you do or the style you're working with. You can leave some of this stuff very suggestive, or you can transfer into a different means of defining an area. So this is drawn in a certain way and the rest of it is drawn in another way. Let me get a little more of the crunchiness going on down here. So if, say, this is the area I'm really focused on, right? So this is where I would spend a lot of time adding these textures in and getting all that fine, minute detail that you want. And then this over here becomes more of an abstract and more just tonal ranges. And that's kind of a neat effect. It's just a stylistic device and means of defining the shape, creating something interesting to look at. So it is coming along. I'm still working on, I want to get crunchiness in this skull. I don't have enough kind of crunchy edges right on that thing, right there. Kind of comes out. There we go. Can do the same thing over here, up here. Just make it more about tone and values. I want to get that shape right there, just not quite right there. There we go. Right like that. And then do some interesting things out in the background as well. Make an interesting mark. Never hurts. All right, so really, and as in working with our, there we go, our watercolors, we can now really come in and start popping in all sorts of fun highlights, because we've made such a mucky mess from my hand. We can really come in and start popping in and really looking for some of these fun shapes and highlights and patterns that will really start selling the piece. Come in here and just keep popping in. There might even be a few on the underneath side in the shadow. We got a few that traverse from the lights over here into the darks like that. There we go. But yeah, these subjects, we do a lot of these in my drawing class. I don't know who collected they've been there for years. I think one of my colleagues brought a lot of them in. He has since retired, but created a nice collection of skulls to work with. And I'm essentially now just drawing with highlights, coming in here and finding shapes and popping in some nice rim lights and edge lights, creating form. That's working nicely. I'm going to get that tooth right down here. The teeth will pop like crazy now. Here we go. Perfect. Oh yeah, this is so much fun. The kneaded eraser, those highlights, man, that's worth gold. Come in right along here. I'm gonna get this ridge right up here. Irregular, just want to create that illusion of height, prominence away from the base surface. And right along this highlight edge right here. Yeah, I'm going to find some more right up in here. That's working pretty well. And right up here, it's really hot right up here. Just go after it right there. And then we can come in and get some of that crunchiness to that horn on that side. And there we go. Get a little bit right up in here, right where that Y was. And there we go. Anyway, so find yourself some references. Skulls, it can be any kind of skull. It doesn't have to be a ram skull. I like ram skulls mainly because of the horns. And come in there and give it a try. See how it goes. Oh, I know what I was going to do. There's a nice little highlight right down along that edge right there, or maybe right there. And right around this one too. There we go. I need a little more right in through here. And I'll just finish it up. I'm just going to drop in just a little more textures. I get that cranial. Like that, cool. All right. There we go, a nice little charcoal study of this ram skull, starting out with some really rough shapes and incorrect shapes even. Fixed it, realized that it wasn't wide enough. We just readjusted, used the wrong things to fix and adjust it to create a better proportion to it. And then we worked up our range of values, modeling, took it to a kind of a mid-range gray, and then we came in, punched up the contrast, picked out the highlights, and bam, we're done. So, hey, I hope you got some value out of this little tutorial. If you did, give me a like and a subscribe. Drop me some comments. I really do appreciate them. I like reading them. And I know I haven't been answering them as fast as I should, but I will be. If you want, I have on my website some free downloads for Loomis figure drawing resources. And I think some Bridgman out there as well. Head over to my video description, click on the links there. That'll take you to my website where you can download those resources. And if you think I'm doing anything on this channel worth a hoot, head over to my Patreon channel and give me a $5 a month membership. I truly do appreciate it. It helps a lot. It is helping me get better equipment, and hopefully I won't be making you seasick with all the shaky stuff. And I'll see you in the next tutorial.